side. I know some of us have to break through the traffic as I did earlier, and some of us come with many circumstances a little bit under the weather, as the weather is not compromising today. This is the third installment of the series of this particular edition of the Saturday Night Lecture series. This has been a unique institution, really. You do have Saturday Night Live in America, but this is a unique thing in Kuala Lumpur. Saturday Night Lectures, where we spend the Saturday evening with something very more serious and something which is contemplative and rooting ourselves back to our tradition and culture. Before I hand over tonight's microphone, it is my pleasure and my duty to, on behalf of the Salih Muhammad, the Director of CASIS, I would like to mention that we do require support, the generous support for the endowment. And to do so, please refer to our brochure and also our website. As you know, things are not as they were in the past. And now, support from you all will be very much welcome. And when I say things were not like in the past, it is just the recent past, because in the real past, this sort of activities was self-funded. They were sustained by people around the town. If you can see, when I was reading the Fermans of the Ottoman Sultans and the Diwan, the registry of the madrasas, you can see how much were given to the salaries of the professors, how much around the village that was given in terms of food for the madrasa to sustain the students. Nothing doing from the Baitul Mal. It is really from the generosity of the public, and that was how education sustained itself in the past. And that is why our ulama can become independent, and our students were independent of worries. So I do implore upon you all, please be generous. We do spend on many things extravagantly, but the funding for this sort of activities is something that is far more important. The third installment of the series, a special edition, Professor Wan is going to deliberate on this book project. Without further ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Aini. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, assalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. My colleagues from CASIS, of course, we are missing Dr. Tiana, who is now in Moscow until perhaps late September. And fellow students and distinguished guests, we are always very honored for you to want to come and spend Friday evening with us. As I told you many times before, as a presenter, I'm always apprehensive, and my wife can testify to this, that whenever we are thinking of presenting in this kind of session, we are always worried, apprehensive, because those who are attending here all the time, they consist of a group who have been listening to Nakib for 20 years, since its tech days, like Prof. Zaini and some Dr. Salih, Prof. Suhaimi. And then our students who have been attending our program since 2011, and then new and younger group of students, and the older one also. So we would like to make our presentation relevant and beneficial to everyone, inshallah, so that the evening is not a waste. And our prayer has been that our humble presentation will not only give new insight and additional information, but also to affirm whatever you have known before, and more importantly also to unify our hearts and our minds, to move forward to do something that's better for ourselves and for our community here and globally. We have here from within us, Dr. Yaqub from London, who was born there and studied there, bachelor's degree in commerce, and then spent some years in Damascus, and then later on spent many more years in Turkey to study Turkish. So this kind of spirit that we are seeing among our young people everywhere now, which really makes us very excited, make us feel that all these things that we are doing are not futile. That something good is happening within our younger, thinking, serious colleagues from many parts of the world, and from elder brothers and sisters who are coming from Kota Kinabalu, from Jakarta several times, from Terengganu. So we felt very, very humble and honored at the same time. Tonight, to proceed, last time we deliberated a little bit about the introductory chapter to our book. And of course, really it started with the brief history of Ronald himself, but last time we didn't start with that. I started by justifying and explaining why I wrote this book, the psychological and spiritual and the educational elements that underlie what we were thinking when we were writing the book. And we thought that briefly we did convey that message. So tonight we want to go back to the reintroduction by talking a little bit about his biography, not the whole of it, but something that we can derive itibar from, not just to narrate facts and events, but something that we can derive something for ourselves, for our families, for our communities everywhere. Of course, he was born 5th September 1931. Next couple of weeks, we'll be celebrating with him, inshallah, his 88th birthday. So if you were to read this chapter, you are going to discover that, and this is what I told the participants in Tehran when the Academy of Sciences Iran convened a one-day conference in his honor, which is very rare for their country to have a conference by the Academy of Sciences to honor a scholar who's not from their ideological framework, but they saw in his writing something relevant to them also. I told them that I'm honored to be studying from him and working with him, because he represented two trends that are so important. First, the knowledge I mentioned already derived from the tradition that reached all the way to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So epistemologically and intellectually, that's how he justified his intellectual lineage. But luckily also his biological lineage also went through that line as well. You know that in the very famous verse of the Quran in Surah Al-A'raf, which Prof. Naki made it very, very popular, how Allah said that when he collected all the seed of Adam والسلام, and then made them testify about his rububiyyah, he's been the Lord of all the sons of Adam, and we all did testify then. And then from that level of existence, we were made to go through from Adam, from the next generation, all the way down to where we are now, depending on our place in God's plan. And when I was reading the book by Al-Imam Abdullah Ali Al-Haddad, translated by Mustafa Badawi, called The Lives of Men. Very, very interesting, a very short book, but very, very profound. He talked about the 5 stages of human existence. And he started also from that particular verse. The verse of Alastu, the verse of Misak, how all sons of Adam made a covenant with Allah Ta'ala about his lordship. So Imam Abdul Haddad said that there are 5 stages in the life of a particular human being. The first stage is the stage of pre-creation, in that period of Alastu. And the second stage is the stage of conception in the womb of their mothers and their childhood. So the second stage is the stage of this worldly existence. The third stage is the stage of their death in Alam Barzakh, what he called as the intermediate realm after death. And the fourth stage is the stage of their judgment, where we are going to be assembled and going to be judged. And the final stage is the stage of our final destiny, whether we are in heaven or in hell. But what we are going to talk about is not the days of Alastu, but the days of this world, when we were born. And Imam Abdul Haddad, he took this from earlier scholars as well. He was saying that in the human life in this world, after conception and after we were born, we experience a period of childhood, which is from the moment that you were born until you are 15 years of age. And then you enter into a period of youth, from 15 years of age to the age of 35 years old. And then you begin to mature until you reach the age of 50. And then you become senior until you reach the age of 70. And then you become very, very old. Prophet Atas now is the age of very, very old. But the development of his intellectual, moral and spiritual capacities can be seen from his very early stage. And I want to share with you also tonight some other dimension which I've been studying for the last couple of years, of how this thing fits also into the scheme of things, in order for us to benefit also from his life experiences from that early stage. From the writing here, I also this one I got from him as well. He was telling us that how his mother, who came from Bata family, and his father also came from a similar type of family. So in his biological composition, it's not Malay in the ethnic sense, and he has been saying all the time that the definition of a Malay is never ethnic. So for those who say that Malays are racist because they are proud of being Malay, they have missed the entire conception of what being a Malay is. A Malay has never been defined ethnically, but has been defined culturally, because even in the biological existence of the Malay, they are never one ethnic per se. Just like he is a Malay. There is in him Turkish, Arabic, Bulgarian, Indonesian blood, for example. And in the life of our aristocrat from Johor, they are mixed also Arabic, Turkish, Chinese, Sudanese, Bugis. Therefore, a Malay, when we define ethnically, you are making it a non-relevant entity in our understanding of who we are as a Malay. So that already is very, very interesting. And he was talking about the fact that when I was contemplating his contribution now, his personality, his courage in dealing with the West, with the ulama, you discourage this easiness with authorities from the Malay world, from the Muslim world, from the Western world. Doesn't come just automatically. It came from the osmosis, from his family background, because he was growing up in Johor during a time of tremendous challenges, because it was pre-independent period of the Malay world, and the Johor Sultanate at the time was, I think, the most exposed two major ideas and major interaction with Europe, not as a colonized entity, but a rather more free entity. They were connected to European aristocrats, particularly the British. They also connected to Japanese aristocracy also. So they were both balanced between East and West. That's why one of them, later on, CASIS and his brother, I think, was sent to Japan to study also. So that's quite interesting, because it is not easy when you study his writing later on, the power of his language, the understanding of the West, and the confidence about his own religion is something very, very interesting, because he was telling me, not written here of course, that when he was growing up in Johor, his teachers were not Muslim. And they were critical of Islam, because they were seeing Islam as being manifested in the life of Muslims all over the world, which were colonized, mostly poor, underdeveloped. But he said he absorbed all this. He was not worried about that, because he knew that Islam is not all these things. Because he understood Islam not from the existential situation of a Muslim only. It came from the understanding of Islam of rich intellectual, spiritual, cultural realities of the past as well as the present. So the then colonized Muslim situation did not affect him. And when he went to London later on to study, it was the same thing also. He was confident. First he went to McGill. No, he went to London to study military sciences. There he met major Muslim leaders as well. He mentioned who they are. I don't want to mention the names here, because you can read it yourself. And also encourage you to buy the book. When he was in the army, he traveled. When he was studying in he traveled to Spain, to Europe, to North Africa, and met many important leaders who were fighting for independence. When he met, he didn't just meet like in a meeting. He met and followed them and discussed with them, because they respect him also because who he was. They knew from which family he came from. Therefore, the meeting is not like a one touch and go kind of meeting. And when he was traveling in on these places, he absorbed the cultural, historical dimension. That's why when he established his tech, it was there in his mind already. When he was designing his tech, the tech building was a synthesis of North African, European, and traditional Malay historical and cultural architecture. Because when I was there with him, I received visitors from many parts of the world. From the European, they told me, they said that when I came to visit East Tech, it reminded me of some old castle, old cathedrals in Europe somewhere, in Spain, in Germany, in France. And when the North African scholars came, they said it reminded me of Morocco, of Algeria, although he didn't copy from anywhere, but that synthesis because of his travels when he was young. And then the cultural milieu of Johor in that time, they were exposed to Western ideas, Western books, and he was living with three chief ministers of Johor, the first, the sixth, and then later Datuk Meja Jafar, who were very strong figures and personalities. And in one of them, he read the libraries, the book from the library, the sagas of the Greek mythology, Icelandic sagas, Russian myth. And he was studying manuscript of the medieval also. He was saying that he practiced copying the manuscript. That's why his heart is very good. Because there was no television in those days. He was copying, practicing, following their language as well. And he was interrupted in his studies because of the war, Second World War. And he told me that when he, at the age of 5, was sent by his parents to Johor to study at primary school age, 5 years old. His mother whispered to him that he must travel because Utru Elman, all of his sin. His mother told him that travel to study even to China. That's why to him, his mother is regarded as a very saintly figure because she taught him many things that later on proved to be very prophetic. He told us that. He told us that his mother reminded him the time that whenever you face a problem, remember the story of Nabi Yunus. Nabi Yunus, when he was burdened with tremendous responsibilities and challenges, he felt like he wanted to run away from his people. But his mother told him that he was still very young, that remember the story of Nabi Yunus. That's why he never intended to leave his country, even though he was under tremendous pressure, oppression, ignored by people who should be considering his contribution by his community. Even when after Istek was taken over from him, we were invited by one head of state in one Middle Eastern country, very rich country. The minister invited for dinner. Of course, very good dinner. The lamb was very good. I still remember until now. When the Arabs make lamb dinner, you cannot compare to our dinner. So the minister asked, Your Excellency, since you are no longer Istek, why don't you come here? We give you anything that you need. And I remember he said, Your Excellency, thank you very much, but Malaysia is my country. I've got duty to do that. He was out of Istek. But he felt that his duty is here, because Malaysia is a place where all the major culture and civilization meet. The Christian, the Hindus, the Buddhists, and at the crossroads of major intersection between East and West. He told me that. And when he came back, he finished writing many other works, for example, historical fan fiction, and he taught a new generation of people by coming here and by just reading to him and several other lectures here and there. But what I want to share with you tonight is the phase of our intellectual spiritual development. In 1980s, 1986, 87, there is Professor Philip H. Combs, C-O-O-M-B-S. He was a very important international educational scholar. He published a book which is very well widely read called The CASIS in World Education, published in 1984-86. I refer to in my book on Budaya Ilmu. He said that the creation of the youth group, as a separate group from childhood and adulthood, is the creation of Western civilization in 19th century, which delayed young people from becoming adults. And he said that very profoundly. And this contributed also to the lack of maturity among a large section of people who are supposed to be maturing faster. And in Islamic intellectual and education history, although we accept the idea they are youth, they are childhood, like what I mentioned from Imam Al-Haddad just now, they are youth, but the youth are not, it's not a group where they are entirely separated from the adult. The youth is just a stage where you are becoming adult. It's not independent. Your idols, your icon, your references are still adult. The Prophet, the Sahaba, the Ahlul Bayt, the scholars, the Umara, who were great people. You don't follow among yourself. You don't follow useful examples because you are youth. Particularly because they exist on the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And here I want to share that, because when you, although Professor Atas, for example, his studies was interrupted by the wars, and he finished high school only at the age of 20, but he wrote his first published writing, Rangkaian Rubaiyat, in 1959, the published version, when he was only 28 years old. And then when he wrote that book, some aspect of Sufism as understood and practiced among the Malays. By the way, Rangkaian Rubaiyat is the first major book, the first book published by the Wasa and Pusaka at that time. And Zaba wrote a preface to that particular Rangkaian Rubaiyat. It's a poetry book which is inspired from Rumi, from Iqbal, and from all the major Muslim poets of the past. And he was barely 20 years old. And then 4 years later, he published his book, Some Aspect of Sufism as Understood and Practiced by among the Malays. Published 63. To come up with a book, he told us that he traveled and interviewed all the major Sufi leaders in Peninsular Malaysia. All of whom were older than he was. And he told us that although he was young, the Sufi leaders understood that his question meant that he understood more than they. And they admitted that they were teaching only tasawwuf at the level of practice, but not at the level of doctrine, which is more difficult, more profound in that sense. Imagine at age 32, you already came up with a book, still as an undergraduate at University of Singapore, which until now remains one of the classic to understand Sufism as understood and practiced by the Malays for many decades. At the age of 32. In the demarcation of Imam Abdul Haddad, he is still a youth. He has reached 35 years old yet. And then when he wrote that, his master's thesis, given with distinction by McGill, Raniri and the Wujudiyah of the 17th century Aceh. He was 35 years old. And when he was at McGill University, he told us that he was meeting already major scholars of his time, Izutsu, Abdul Rahman, and some others who become great players in modern Muslim thought, such as Nas, for example, Islam Faruqi later on. But even there already, his confidence with regard to his religion and his ability to debate with non-Muslims and to explain Islam was so effective that Allah gave him the privilege of Islamizing several individuals, one of whom became his wife until now. He was still very young at that time. And he was debating with the director and founder of that institute, the McGill Institute of Islamic Studies, which is very well known until now. Wilfred Cantwell Smith, very prominent, very profound, who has contributed a lot to the Orientalistic understanding of Islam. And for many Muslim thinkers and scholars until now, to understand Islam and Islamic studies from the Western perspective. And in Indonesia, that institute has tremendous influence because several ministers of education and key players in the education system came from there, as can be testified by Dr. Alian Husaini, who has been studying this aspect also. How the product of that particular institute came out and shaped the modernizing influence in modern Indonesian higher education and Islamic understanding in general until now. The youthful development, the youth must be freed from what Combs called Western product, Western psychological cultural definition. That youth must be useful, must be free from the shackles of adults. They must be led to be looking for their own identity. They must experiment, try and error, finding their own identity. This is what Western conception of youth is. But in Islam, no, a youth is just a stage in your life that you are not fully mature yet, but your idealism, your framework is already slowly becoming stronger and stronger as you reach maturity. That's why in our history, you can see in the writing of various scholars, their biographies, in the Tabaqat, how young people advance to great height already. Look at Imam Shafi'i himself, may Allah be pleased with him. He was already giving fatwa at the age of in the teenage period. He remembered the Quran at 11. Even Ibn Sina, in his autobiography, he was saying that he mastered medicine at age 16. Already. And Nizamullah Al-Tusi, the Prime Minister who established Nizamiyah College during the time of Al-Ghazali, he memorized the Quran at the age of 11 and became a scholar of hadith just slightly after that. So I want to share with you this very important thing, to my mind, of course, that we can have great lesson from. That our children. That's why sometimes I'm very happy that you bring your high school kids, daughters, you bring even your younger kids, 2, 3, 4, except that when they cry, bring them out. And you are teaching your diaper, bring them out too, for example. But otherwise, it's very important to let them develop osmotic absorption of what they are hearing, sometimes the term, the concept, the names. Because the human intellect and human soul doesn't grow in a vacuum. It grows in a culture like this. People become interested in philosophical, Islamic, heavy Islamic matters because they listen to the name, the term, the concepts from when they were young. Even though they may not be studying as a subject matter, as a specialized subject, but they are hearing this, they can connect in their life in the way they develop their intellectual consciousness. I want to share with you what I've been studying for the last couple of years. For example, Abu Bakr Siddiq, he commented when he was barely 37 years of age, which means he is still quite useful. He was not old yet. And Omar converted when he was 27 years of age and became Caliph when he was 15. Osman converted at age 32. Ali bin Abi Talib converted much earlier, at age of 10. And when he slept on the back of the Prophet at the age of Hijrah, he was 21 years of age. But already they were taking an action which was far-reaching in our history. Because to be willingly agree to sleep on the back of the Prophet when you know that the Prophet is going to be murdered is something like, not the same, like Nabi Ismail agreeing to be slaughtered by his father. That's why Ali is Ali. Because he knew that he's not sleeping to dream for something else. But he knew that sleep may be the last sleep. That sleep is the last sleep of his life. But he knew that he's a prophet. He needs to take his place, even though the possibility of death is there. But what made him so convinced that he's doing something very profound, something very important? Not because of force, but because of intellectual, spiritual, and moral understanding of who he was supposed to replace on that particular bed. So they were youth, but they were not stupid youth. They were not wandering about. They were taking action that changed their life. Abu Bakr, Umar, then Ali, of course. And Muawiyah, he converted at age 28, still very useful. When Mecca was conquered. And then he became governor for 20 years after that. So at the age of 48, I'm trying to tell you that now I'm 65, going to be 65, I've done nothing yet. When these people at the age of 27, 20, they're probably something already, it's not forever. Umar bin Aziz, of course he died very young. He died in the sweet age of youth, 38. Not even 40 yet. And governed as a caliph only for less than 2 years. But he was the governor of Medina for 10 years prior to that. And historians tell us that he was a good governor. Just governor, because he was surrounded by many great scholars. Harun al-Rashid became a caliph at age 22 years old. Still very young. But he governed for more than 2 decades. And the Abbasid Empire during this time was regarded as one of the highest aspects of the Abbasid civilizational achievement. Of course, we know personally he was a very spiritual man, not just an intellectual. He gathered scholars. He developed Bible with his son Al-Ma'mun later on. But personally, he prayed 100 rak'ah per day, which means that they already venture into a proper Muslim leader and personality. And he was surrounded also by great scholars, great thinkers. One of whom is Qudar Iyad, the other one is Abu Yusuf, and the Barmaki, who advised him in politics and management. And his son, although his ideology was Mu'tazilite, and he wrongly punished and killed thousands of scholars who did not agree with him with regard to his Mu'tazilite ideology regarding specifically the created of the Quran. But he became a Khalid at age 23, still very young. Because the training of leaders, the training of people will not wait, they don't wait until you become adult. Adulthood is a process that is inculcated all the time. I don't think they think about Little Pony, Spider-Man, Superman, the Hulk, or their equivalent. They talk the prophet, the great leader of the past, their history, their philosophy, the story of the prophets, the great history of the previous civilization, the previous rulers. They were learning something substantial, not something artificial, something imaginary, something fantastical. That's why at a young age they can do something great, even without Facebook and Google. Imam Al-Ash'ari himself, when he left Mu'tazilism, he was barely 40. Of course, to leave a particular school of thought is not just an act, a momentary act. There was already a long-standing intellectual education in his mind. You don't leave a very profound group of scholars because the Mu'tazilah were known to be the most rational in Islam at that time. You don't leave, I want to leave. It's not like that. There must have been already years and months of education in his mind. That how can they be right? If they are right, to what extent? If they are wrong, to what extent? Because the result of his leading that group of thinkers, the book which is probably after that, became the foundation of our Sunni tradition. That means the living is not something superficial. He did that, he was barely 40. When I was thinking, what was I doing when I was 40? I was really thinking whether Chicago Bears is going to win NFL or not. I was really thinking whether Michael Jordan is going to win NBA or not. I was thinking whether Clint Eastwood played. I was not thinking about that, but something like that. But at age 40, he left the most profound and most powerful intellectual movement in Islam at that time. Nobody was able to defeat the Mu'tazili school of thought because they were influencing great Khalif. Ma'mun is not a stupid person. He was a brilliant thinker. He was a memorizer of the Quran also. People say, Shayuti says in his Tarikh Khulafa, that in one Ramadan he khatam Quran 30 times, even though he is Mu'tazili. Which means he's not just a simple, liberal, rational Khalif. So to get out intellectually into probably work which finally shut up to put in our gross terminology. The advancing rationalism of the Mu'tazili must have involved tremendous intellectual education in his mind. And he was very 40. So when Pronaki was writing all these things, you can see the movement of mind. And when he produced Islamic secularism, when he produced Prolegomena, it's not something that somebody can sit down 3 months and write, because the spiritual and the intellectual preparation must have been accumulated from very young. The confidence, the subtleness of arguments. Although the references are not numerous. One young academic from one prominent university in the world, when he was commenting to me, the book Islamic Secularism contains very little footnotes and no bibliography at that time, no index. I said, you miss the point. It's not an academic book written by scholars in the university. It's a book for the Muslim youth to inspire them, to show them direction. That's why prominent minds like Hamza Yusuf saw that and one of the best books that Muslims have written in the last 100 years. Because it's not just a book in a normal academic sense, it's a book to solve our problems. It's not about getting published because the publisher was this Abim, which is not a known organization at that time. Nobody knew Abim. But because that book, Abim was known among intellectuals in America and other parts of the world because it was well written, well published, because he chose the paper himself, he designed the cover himself. Nizam Mohd Al-Tusi I mentioned just now. He memorized the Quran at age of 11 and became the Prime Minister of Seljuk at age 41 and founded Nizamiya College at age 48 years old and taught hadith there also. So you can see that Nizam Mohd understood knowledge in general and in particular to be able to teach hadith in that college which is regarded the top university, the top college in the Muslim world at that time. The idea that the Muslim world needs colleges like this and full of wakaf. I remember Prof. Dani was saying just now that we need your support. We should not be appealing to you like that because as Muslims we should understand what to do. I remember in Ibn Jubair, I mentioned in my writing, in my speeches before here, Ibn Jubair wrote his rehlah, his travelogue during the time of Syarahan al-Ayyubi, when Syarahan al-Ayyubi was busy fighting the Crusades, and the Crusade was the unity of all the European Christian powers to fight against one Muslim leader. Ibn Jubair was traveling from Andalusia to North Africa to the Hijaz, and in his rehlah, in his travelogue, he was saying to his people that, look, please come to the Hijaz to study because here you can find any teacher that you need to study whatever subject you want to study from. And everything is provided for, the book, the pencil, the paper. In the middle of the crusade, yet Salahuddin provided enough funding for scholars to study whatever subject needs to be studied. In the middle of the crusade. In our country, not this country of course, I'm not a politician. When there is like economic problem, the first budget you cut are for the university, for the researchers. And Ibn Jubair said again also that if a student is sick in this part of the world, there are hospitals for you to go to for free again. And if you cannot go to the hospital, the doctors will come to you right in the middle of the crusade. And Salahuddin was very young when he was governing. Salahuddin died at the age of 55, 10 years younger than I am. And he was appointed the Wazir under the Fatimid at slightly much younger age, 32 years of age. Of course, although he served under the Fatimid who was Shiite, but he was not in agreement with the ideology. So when he replaced the last Fatimi Caliph, he re-established the Sunni school of thought and took over Al-Azhar and turned it into one of the most important Sunni education institutions in the Muslim world until now. So you can serve the Muslim and mankind even though you govern only for a short time. It's not how long you govern, but what did you do when you did govern? And this example shows that in the life of man, youth is not a separate age period which make you not able to be adult, but rather even at the youthful age, you can do adult-like achievements. Muhammad al-Fatih, you all know very well. Although he died at age 49, but he conquered Istanbul at age 21. Barely an undergraduate student during our time. But to be able to conquer Istanbul, if you read enough history about him, it's not just a simple achievement because many sultans before him tried to conquer Istanbul. because Istanbul was the strongest fortress of the Byzantine Christianity for many centuries before. It was fortified because they knew it was the most central headquarters. And many Muslim leaders in the past were trying to conquer that. So when he conquered that in 21, it presupposed a well thought out plan. Intellectual, philosophical, military, although it did not work exactly because he tried and tried and tried. And it's 21. When I was 21, I don't know what I was doing. I was trying to decide whether I want to be a biology major or chemistry major. I was trying to decide maybe trying to marry this or marry that.
You've got one.
Alhamdulillah. No regret there. Maybe the most important decision I made when I was 21. Because you see, I could say that. But look at that. That's why the observation by Philip Combe is so important, that this creation of adolescence, of youth as a separate age period full of turbulence and meant to be so, is a creation of Western civilization in the 19th century. But Muslim and earlier tradition were not threatened by that. And the history of Muslim thinkers were full of that even now. Sulaiman the Great, Sulaiman the Magnificent, he died at the mature age of 71. Decrepit basically. But his great achievement was not at that stage. He governed at the age of 26, and he governed for 46 years. At the age of 7 already, and it's common to all Muslims, traditional Muslims, at the age of 7 already, he was taught Islam, literature, military science at the age of 7. Not simple military, but strategic military sciences. And he became a governor of several cities by the age of 17 already. So you can see that this period, and when I was looking at Moroccan achievement, whom he was dealing with, what he was writing, not just what he was writing, how he was writing what he was writing, the English, the references, the confidence. Because they were taught formally and informally. They were not shielded. And he told us that when Daud, when he was taking Daud bin Ja'far, the one who founded UMNO, they were Datuk Panglima Bukit Gantang, meeting all the time. They were Dr. later on Tun Dr. Ismail. They were Pak Loma. They were meeting all the time, trying to establish UMNO. He was around there. That's why Datuk one day told him that, Najib, okay, why not you design our flag, put in the Malay element there, put the Islamic element there, put the royal element there. Because Datuk knew what he knew, what he could do. He was around there all the time. He was barely 15 years old at that time. Therefore, he said that he put the UMNO flag is red and white because he was familiar with Indonesian flag, because he was carrying the flag in Indonesia when they were fighting against the Japanese and Dutch. He said, I was holding out the Bandara UMNO all the time when I was in Bogor. And he listened to Sukarno's speeches, and he admired Sukarno. He said Sukarno was the first Muslim leader who proclaimed Assalamualaikum in such a very confident manner. He would shout, Assalamualaikum, and if people don't respond properly, he would shout again. And that inspired him also to be confident to say salam in 1940s. So he said that I designed UMNO flag, red and white of UMNO, to unify the Malay world. And then the crease signified Malay power, and the yellow and the green of Islam. What I wanted to say that the reason why Datuk Wan asked him, a barely youthful man living in his house, is because the interaction, the knowledge of what one can do is already there. And to design a flag that symbolizes that symbol all these three dimensions is not simple. To know what represents the Malay aspect. Why crease? Why not Taukolok? Why not Gasing? Why not wow? Because many things in our mind, isn't it? But But grace is very important. That's why when he designed UKM logo later on, he didn't use grace on the other hand. Because UMNO was meant to fight for independence and you need grace. But UKM was established to educate young Malay in the Malay language. So he designed the logo of UKM as a draft, because later on they took it and they changed it. As a tiger who holds the oboe, the torch. But they changed it. They made the tiger, not right, the tiger holding, because the tiger is a pronatic. They drafted the tiger holding the torch. And on top of it, Ilman. It's Quranic. The tiger is very much Malay power. But they change it because they don't understand many things. They change it and make it a tiger holding a grace. Grace only symbolize power. The tiger also symbolize power. You have too much power, you have problem. Isn't it? You can have double power. But he designed it. The tiger was holding the oboe. And oboe symbolize knowledge. So this power must be guided by knowledge. Not to be more powerful. Because more power is corrupt. And that's what we have seen, not in this country, of course, in many other countries. And this country is quite alright. So that understanding at a very young age is because in a particular cultural environment, they don't separate all these things. They let the kid listen, benefit from this kind of adult. So the kid absorb, learns. The library was good. But now we purposely let the kid learn, memorize, be acquainted with nonsensical fantastical stuff. Iron Man. Nothing wrong with Iron Man, of course. Little Pony, Barbie doll, the shirt, t-shirt, the hair, fine. But this was something substantial from their history, their philosophy. So that they have noble ideas to follow, to inculcate in their life. Imam Abdullah Al-Haddad, even from a very early age, you could see already the maturity. It was written that, of course, he died in 1722. When he was young, he already memorized the Quran. And then when he was still very young, he was already praying 100 and 200 rak'ah of prayer. Of course, to me, to us, very difficult, isn't it? But if you think carefully, the tahajjud, the sunnah before and after the prayer, the duha, the awabin, they easily come to that. But the environment. And when he was early 20s, his teacher, who is a great man himself, Omar Abdurrahman Al-Attas, already felt that he deserved to be given his firqa, his robe of honor, to a man who was barely 20. And not only that, even at that age, the teacher himself requested him to give his own firqa to him, which means as a professor like me, giving my firqa to my student, and I request my student to give his firqa to me, because I hope not this student is just a simple student. At that sweet age of 20 years old, 20 years. What I want to show here is that Prof. Nasir Atas, like many other scholars in the past, and some of them now also, that they grow up like that. Partly because their own intellectual capacity, but partly also of the environment they were in. No matter how difficult the environment was, it may not be a formal environment, because his formal education was interrupted by the war, but the informal family environment the cultural environment of Johor at that time, and wherever he went after that. Our environment is our environment. It's what you do with it. Ibn Hazm, in one of his writings, he was mentioned that because Ibn Hazm was an aristocrat, because his father, grandfather, they were all great scholars of that time. Therefore, he lived in a palace. He has got many teachers. Therefore, a scholar who came from poor family said that you are lucky because you came from very aristocratic family. Therefore, you are a great scholar because you are so privileged. He said, how do you know? Because sometimes with so much privileges, it gives you so much distraction, so many games to play, so many women to follow, so many horses to ride, so many hunting to do, isn't it? So many drinking parties to attend. So just because you are privileged, it doesn't mean that you can achieve the excellence that you should achieve. So Ibn Hazm was telling to these poor scholars, you are lucky because you had no distraction. Because sometimes poverty is a positive thing. Even our ulama, they say that if you to be a scholar, it's better to be poor because then you are not distracted. Even fasting is better than not fasting. When you are fasting, you are free from thinking what's for lunch, for breakfast, for dinner. It happens to ourselves, isn't it? So the condition itself is not automatically producing a great mind. If the mind itself is easily distracted, easily affected by the environment. Ibn Khaldun mentioned a story, and I mentioned it in my book on culture of knowledge also, that how he was very fascinated by a book on language, an Arabic language. It's written by Ibn Sina. Ibn Khaldun said that this book is the best that I've seen on Arabic lexicography. I checked the biography of who is this Ibn Sina. He was blind. Being blind in that particular period of time gives you enough reason not to do anything. Because there were not many books, there was no braille system developed yet. And I checked again, not only he was blind, but his father was blind too. Therefore, we have got more than an excuse not to do anything with your life. Because my father was blind, he couldn't teach me, and I was blind, therefore I don't do anything. I should not be expected to do anything. Yet, despite being blind, despite coming from a blind family, from a blind father, he produced a book. That Ibn Khaldun, who is a very brilliant thinker himself, very critical thinker himself, said that it's the best book I've read on Arabic lexicography during my time. And Imam Abdullah Awliya was blind too. But when you read his books, and I read some of them, 5 or 6 of them I read, I cannot but marvel at his memory on history, on hadith, on Quran, and the quotation of various scholars. He was blind. What I meant to say is that when people are motivated carefully and properly, when they are inspired by great works of great scholars and what to do with their life properly, despite of the limitation of their situation, they can overcome them. Hamza Yusuf told me when he was here last time, he was saying that, of course I knew this thing before, but not to this extent. He was saying that now in America, the prisons are the best places where Islam is spreading. In a prison. Of course, Malcolm X, in his autobiography, was saying that already. And that was in 1960s when Malcolm X was in prison. He was saying that I was reading every book in a prison. Luckily, in the American prison system, there are many good books. To some extent, that Malcolm X memorized the entire dictionary. That's why if you listen and read Malcolm X speeches, you could see the power of his vocabulary. Because he memorized the English dictionary. And now, Abdullah Yusuf said that Muslims are converting in the prisons. And in America, there are more prisons than there are universities. So wherever you are, if we are inspired properly, and people like Prakata, he was inspired properly because he came from his lineage of great scholars. One of whom is grandfather, Syed Abdullah bin Muhsin Al-Attar, who was buried in Bogor. I had the opportunity to go with the Khalif and Dr. Adian to visit his grave. There were hundreds of people every day, thousands of people every day. And during the Dutch period, he was respected by the Dutch. The Dutch feared him because the power of his knowledge. They feared his karama. They say that when they put him in prison, some people saw him outside of prison. And many other things, of course. So even the Dutch, who didn't believe in all these things, respected that possibility. So, brothers and sisters, of course, we can go deeper about the detail of his Bible history. But tonight, I told my wife that I just want to touch this aspect of it. That even though he grew up and his education was interrupted by the Second World War, he was asked to leave. He was forced to leave his parents when he was age of 5, but because the foundation of his living was to learn. And that was what his mother whispered to him. Despite the interruption, despite lack of resources later on, he can still produce important works because of the environment that he was in, and he benefited from that environment, but mostly also because of that spiritual and moral maturity which he seeks to improve himself. We are responsible for our own maturity. That's what I want to stress. And by learning the biographies of earlier people, Muslim and non-Muslims, we can inspire ourselves and inspire our own students, our own family members, non-Muslim, for example, like Gandhi. Gandhi, of course, he died at a very late age, 78. But when he left for South Africa from London, in London he was not yet inspired by all this fighting against the colonialists. He was just a normal lawyer. But when he went to South Africa for 7 years there, he was transformed by the experiences there. And he was barely 25. So when he returned to India much later, he already had an agenda of reform. Sultan Iskandar Thani from Aceh. He died again at the age of 73. But when he governed, he was governing at the age of 24. And Aceh was not small and was more state like Israel. It was a huge empire already at that time. He governed for 49 years, almost 50 years. To govern an empire fighting against the Dutch and other enemies requires tactical knowledge, courage, and the proper utilization of the rulers and the scholars of his time. And he had the services of Syamsuddin Sumatrani and students of Samsul Fansuri and many others. And his successor, Iskandar Thani, started governing at age 31 years old and governed only for 6 years. But he was already helped by people like Ranili. Gandhi, I said earlier just now, and Hitler. Of course, when I mention Hitler, do not say that I'm pro-Hitler. No. I'm trying to say that when he wrote his Mein Kampf, his major work, My Struggle, he was only 34 years of age. And that book was a big book. To come with a book like that in prison, which later on convinced hundreds of thousands of people, requires some kind of sophistication, some kind of coherency, although it's based on wrong ideas. So what I'm trying to say is that we must learn from people like even Dr. Mahathir. When you read his autobiography, Doctor in the House, I learned a lot from that. How the experience of the British made him become anti-British. Because he doesn't want the Malaysia to be again colonized because of what he saw in those times. So we can learn, even though we are still quite young. Not we anymore, not at my age, but at some age. Don't say, brother, I'm too young. I remember telling one of my colleagues that, brother, you can do this. I'm too young. I said, boy, you're only 45. I joke with him, then look, Sultan Muhammad Fatih conquered Istanbul 21. And Obama was governing America when he was 40. We're only 45 and we cannot do president elected like this. Talking to only 200 people, who are our friends. When I tell our sisters to speak, to talk confidently. He said, I'm still too young, I was in my area, but already 34. He would dare not speak in front of 20 people, 30 people, 200 people. How can you support scholars like people, leaders like Muhammad Al-Fatih? Or things like that. So ladies and gentlemen, this is my purpose tonight. I don't want to dare to you what Quran has done, this and that in the past, but I want to derive some lesson from his experience, some of his experiences. That at a very young age, he already managed to write something quite profound. Because until now, there is no equal to Rataya Rubaiyat. Until now, there is no equal to Sufism as understood and practiced by the Muslim. And of course, you don't say what happened to the book of Muhammad Al-Fatih. It's the most profound. And he wrote that in a very young age still. So this is my purpose tonight. I open the floor now for questions and comments. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you very much for very interesting opening to the book. I have not had this detailed explanation by Prof. on the youth aspect of it and the repercussions of the classification or the false genre of youth by the West. And the other aspect of Professor Wan stresses is the idea of the travel log of Ibn Jubayr, which is quite interesting. We Muslim scholars in the past, wherever they go, they've written travel logs. Ibn Battuta was one. This morning, earlier I was talking to Dr. Yaqub. I went to Kino the other day and I saw a book that was translated by Robert Denkoff. Robert Denkoff taught us Islamic civilization at the University of Chicago. He translated the Syarahan of Abdi al-Shalabi. And in it, it's basically details of whatever he saw during the time of the Ottoman. And it was in the 17th century. He was contemporary with Ramili. We have many other travelogues, which unfortunately it is now fell in neglect. Our young ones now tend to read either the Lonely Planet or something if they want to travel. My point being, we read, when it comes to Islam, we only read the fiqh books, the halal, the haram, the tafsir. The travelogues are very important because it provides the expense of the Muslim civilization and what really happened on the ground. That was really something. So please, ladies and gentlemen, let's see a show of hands or comments if you'd like to say something. Thank you. Dr. Nizam, number one. Anybody else? Dr. Yaqub and Yusuf. So let's start with the three. All right.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum, Prof. Wan. I wanted to ask a very stupid question. Why Prof. Alata's choice of language is such a diverse yet harmonious when he speaks? And in the context of his writings, as if he is speaking from his heart, that it transcended the limitations of all other languages of such subject matter that he wrote in. He is an Indonesian by origin, but he doesn't write in Indonesian language. He resided in Johor for quite some time, but when he speaks in Johorian dialects, it is of such beautiful language that occasionally when one had the privilege to hear him in Bahasa Melayu, it is not as the Bahasa Melayu of today is. Yet when he refers to his understanding of the Quranic verses, the understanding of the Arabic language that he continued to dig deeper into its roots is not as the Arabic language either of the classical nor the modern. And what more, doesn't lead to the Arabization of the cultural meanings contained therein. At the same time, the challenge for the modern readers when we read this English text, it is of such depth that even the choices of terminologies and the etymological roots of the words are not as easily found in any modern literature. So again, my question was, why does he write and speaks in English in such a manner that it becomes it is the signature of avatars when you find those good books that he has written so far.
Should we go with the second one? Okay. Hello.
So my question is more about osmosis actually, because I actually like that concept. Because I guess whenever my students ask me like where did I obtain the information from, I always use the word osmosis. Because from everything I've learned in regards to books, it's osmosis which I can't footnote, which is the hardest part where I get most of my information. And what you mentioned here was that Professor Akhtar's his life experience, travel, his mother, his cultural milieu. I mean, this is all osmosis, right? And when we're teaching students about learning knowledge, what they're interested in is the empirical, it's the knowledge at university. And how can we encourage students to maybe understand or appreciate that this importance of osmosis, this importance of travel, or to be awake and present in the world they live in so that they're learning from the environment, to pay attention to what the parents were telling them, who maybe had a different understanding of Islam than they did, but were passing on snippets of information that became part of their character. How we, because students think that learning Islam is what they choose, but at times it's what's infused in them. How can we make them aware of that, if you know what I mean? How can they see it? Because I think for many young students, the obsession of learning Islam is to go to an institution and that's it. And when you try to remind them that the hardship, the struggles, the difficulty are all part of the process. So I remind my students of the story of Yusuf alayhi salam when he had to spend more time in prison. It wasn't a waste of time in that context. And that's how they see their world, which is I have to finish this by this time, and this by that time, and that by that time. And in reality, osmosis doesn't work like that. It's far more organic. So I know you explained it, but just for the young students who are here, I think it's important that they can understand that better.
Thank you. Yes, Yusuf, please introduce yourself.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Zan. Okay, I'm a youth. So I'm a 22 years old kid who's looking for answer in my religion. Alright, so basically we're talking about a youth just now, so it caught my attention. So actually I'm a bit curious to whom that actually we're referring to when we talk about the Western understanding about, the world, Western worldview and everything. So I'm a bit curious to whom actually we are referring to. So basically I've read the book by Professor Akhtar himself, Islam and Secularism. So basically referring to the people, Western people that actually in the system of capitalism and socialism. But nowadays I think it is no longer legit, as in nowadays in the West. And there's been a few of individuals, actually they've came up with their own idea and everything, such as Jordan Peterson, if you know, and then Dr. Gavin May. It's like people that studies about psychology. They came up with different kind of understanding, in the understanding of nature of human being and everything. So they are not actually, they're not involved with the system. I mean, like capitalism and everything. So they came up with their own ideas through the mediums that we are having nowadays, as in YouTube and everything, so they can lash their own ideas out. So they've been talking about happiness, because I've been in the wellness industry, so we all studies about how to seek happiness, how to seek the health of the psychology and everything. So they come up with their own ideas, and I think it's quite legit. So yeah, when we're referring to this Western understanding, so I believe that things already started changing nowadays. It's no longer in the system of yeah, I'm not sure, so that's why I'm a bit curious to whom actually we are referring to, because I think things have changed nowadays, even in the West. Yeah, so that is the question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nizam, Mr. Yaakob, and Mr. Velan. Of course, from Nakib Atas, most consistent advice and I think most important ethical position in doing anything is sincerity. And this goes to all Muslim scholars, people presently and in the past as well. When they want to do anything, they emphasize that element first. Why are we doing what we are doing? Are we doing for ourselves? Or are we doing for the sake of Allah Ta'ala? It's not so simple, although it can be simply said. One, we take that ground because we take this thing very seriously. Because he told me several times that whatever we write now, if people misread or misunderstood what we are saying right now, we can still be there to clarify. But when we are no longer here, whatever we write will be the only thing people can try to interpret our thoughts from. Meaning that the word that you use, if you don't use them properly, therefore that's how people will interpret what you think you mean. That's why to him, when he writes something, because writing can last a long time, he'll be very particular whether writing in Malay, English or Arabic. That's why he takes great concern when people say that to have a book discussion in Indonesia. Here also say bedah buku. It's simple like bedah buku. You say why bedah buku? Bedah means to operate. When you want to operate something's wrong with it already. Isn't it? So when you want the proper things, diskusi buku, analisa buku, bicara buku. We show that you are going to learn from the book. Nothing wrong with the book, but even nothing wrong with the book, you don't call bedah. You still want to analyze. For example, bengkel ilmiah, bengkel for mechanical thing. When the car got something damaged, you bring to a bengkel. But why use bengkel for academic discussion, for example? Because he said that be careful what you use. Because knowledge reflect, words reflect knowledge. So be careful when you write something, be careful of how the word that you use, particularly with regard to knowledge, religion, ethics. Simple stuff is quite alright, you can be quite loose with it. So that's why he said that when people say that there is Chinese element in the Islamization of the Malay. He said, well, there are Chinese element in the Malay language, but all of these elements pertain mostly to food and cooking utensils. Most of the terms from Chinese are referring to food, kway teow, for example, ikan, and these other things. These are all good things. But when it comes to say the proper Islamic understanding, it is either the Islamization of the pre-Islamic Sanskrit terms, like Tuhan, dosa, syurga, pahala, or the introduction of Arabic Islamic vocabulary. So although they are Islamic clone, you see, but it's not in the main ethical, philosophical, and legal dimension of it. Because from language you know where is the impact coming from. So first sincerity, second knowledge, that you must know exactly what the term is supposed to mean when you use that. That's why he's very careful about that. And he was reading basically the classical work of the Muslim past and the Muslim present. He doesn't read modern Malay works. He reads from the Fansri, Ranari, and all these manuscripts. That's why when he was there, he was doing that. And because he was reading mostly classical works, not just of the Muslim, but non-Muslim too. The English sagas, the Russian mythos, Greek mythology. Therefore, he got the spirit of the West. Brother Lan, when you say what is West, I'll go to the Yaakob question later on. What is West? The West is not something geographical only, it's something cultural. He said the West is the amalgamation of the pre-Christian mythology of the Greeks, or the Romans, of the Icelandic, or the Russian, or the Celtic. and then it's combined with the philosophical dimension of the Greeks and the legal tradition of the Romans, and then of the Christian and Judeo tradition as well. So there it is. When we talk about the Western worldview, it is unity and combination of all these elements there. That's one thing. Second thing is that the spirit of the West, according to him, is in the spirit of humanity, meaning that man is the decider of many things. In fact, all things. This is Greco-Roman spirit that is dominating the West until now. So when you're talking about happiness, about psychology, it is from the vision of that fundamental Western philosophical framework. And then it is tragic, the Western spirit is talking about, that because it is entirely humanistic, therefore it becomes tragic because in the sense that it doesn't arrive at certainty. And that goes to the nature of happiness. They say that the Western man said happiness cannot be really understood and measured, because if happiness to them now is reduced only to the physical and emotional part of man, these things are fleeting. This morning you are happy, and next morning in the afternoon you are not happy, because of the understanding of who the man is. And understanding who the man is based on rational philosophy, humanistic philosophy, helped by modern science and technical achievement. Therefore the West is not something geographical only, but it started with that, but something profoundly philosophical. It's a combination of many things. So when you say no longer legit, that's not quite correct. Of course, you say you started by saying you are still learning, yeah? And if you are saying the West is not happy, yeah, that's true. That's why now happiness is becoming a very dominant element in their national planning, because everybody is oppressed and feeling depressed. Because the more rich you are, the more healthy you are, still you are grappling with what is happiness. You may love someone so much to the extent that you tattoo her name on your body, but after 3 days you got divorced. Because we seem to be losing the meaning of who is man. And with the current development of neurological sciences, man is determined by his neurology, no longer by socio-economic circumstances, but by the biochemical and neurological makeup. Everything has been predetermined in that sense. Yeah? So, of course, the West is lasting philosophy that it keeps on changing. But despite the change, there's still something dominant there. That it is humanistic, it is tragic. And they all admit that in their major writings, in their serious movies, for example. It's about searching for the truth. And they say that we will never know it, but the search is very important. And now religion is becoming more problematic, because for the last 30 years, they are finding out that some of their most important priests and leaders in the churches are involved in decades-old moral corruption. And these are among the most conservative of Christian tradition. The Protestants are more liberal, but the Catholics, who are regarded as most conservative, are trapped with this scandal, not just in one country, but in many countries, in Europe, Latin America, and Asia also. Not just for 1 year, but decades. Therefore, their trust on the validity of religious opinion or religious position is becoming more shaken than ever before. With regard to Dr. Yaakob comment, that's true. And even among non-Muslims, this idea that true education is not by formal instruction alone, goes back to the Greek. They call it, I think Robert Hutchins, the president of the University of Chicago, he wrote a book, The Learning Society, he called it, published in the 1970s, The Learning Society. He was saying that during the Greek time, and the Greeks to them were the shapers of modern Western outlook generally. He said that the Greeks were educated not formally because there were no universities, but he called it by pioneer, P-I-A-D-I-E-A, meaning by society, by osmosis. That everywhere in the bathhouses, while talking, while walking, in a cafe, they were discussing something of serious nature. The academy is not something physically constructed; it was just a group of people meeting together. So this osmosis that shape people are not necessarily formal and not say Islamic. All serious civilization does that. Even the West right now, they say that in high school now, whatever the kids are learning in high school is nothing compared to what they learn outside school, from Instagram, from the social media, from the sports stuff. Therefore, they are absorbing something that they shouldn't be absorbing. Okay? Evening.
That's what I was about to add. How do you think social media is impacting this osmosis?
I think social media is basically replacing the role of proper education because of lack of control, because you can't control what people are trying to convey. And that's why now, for example, there's a book called Ukatani, the Death of Truth, published by New York Times, one of the editor of New York Times recently. She was talking about that, Michiko Kukatani, the Death of Truth. Of course, blaming mostly Donald Trump, but she's blaming also the spread of social media. If you share something, you write something erroneous, but through a book, it takes longer time. But through social media, you can spread something so fast, within a split second, for example. So osmosis is a natural way of influencing people's mind, people's life. But who is deciding this cultural content? In our society, it should be the ulama, it should be the parents who are educated by the ulama also. It should be leaders who are helped by the ulama. That's why I mentioned these great leaders just now. Iskandar Sani, Mehmet Al-Fateh, they were all influenced by great scholars who were shaping them. Therefore, these great scholars were influencing people not only by their writing, but the cultural influences which they have. So wherever they turn, they see the influence there. But right now, due to the fragmentation of our society, the osmotic effect is still there, but largely negative. Because parents are not educated except how to make money and how to earn money. Leaders are no longer thinking about society, value as a whole. Leaders are thinking most of economic and political survival, for example. Therefore, the osmotic effect on individuals are less moral, less ethical, less profoundly philosophical, but mostly socio-economic and transitory. But the process is the same process, it's still osmotic in that sense. That's why the role of formal education is becoming less and less significant, because of the role of the larger elements who are influencing people now. Even now, for example, people are learning from these things. No longer from classroom. In the classroom are depending mostly on these things.
Yep. So another set of questions, please. Okay. Yes. Two. Anyone else? I just like to make a slight comment, and that is the importance or the phenomena of the youth. Someone was correct. I mean, our early scholars were youthful in their contribution, or their age. They were very youthful. But that was also the tradition in the West. I mean, if you look the very early modern, not early modern, but early West, after they took learning from the Muslims. If you read Darwin, if you read Newton, and even early modern, even the Western philosophers, the existentialists. There's a book called The Existentialist Cafe. When you look at their biography, most of them were in their early 20s when they start writing this philosophy. So it's quite interesting that the majority of youth today are sidelined to somehow waste their mind somewhere else. But the real ones, the real hardcore youths who actually driven their civilizations, their own cultures, are the ones at that age. And I think, and that is why I think Prophet Sallallahu wrote the book to the Muslim youth. And I think now, ever more reason, I think with this group here, and with the groups of followers or students who have been following the Worldview of Islam series, I think you can see why that book is quite telling in a sense. And I remember reading Islamic secularism at a very young age, right after I met Rasulullah, as I said to my classes. I don't understand the very first time when I read it, but when I went, as I went along to my education at University of Chicago, and also guided by Professor Wan in a very informal way, because I used to call him almost weekly, and he would tell me what book I read, and I would ask him what book to read. As I the meanings that Dr. Nizam was referring to, the language that Rasulullah was writing, slowly becoming to open up, and as the meaning, the osmosis aspect, you know, it slowly gathers in and opens up to you, and that's the beauty of it. And when I came back in 1991 at the suggestion of Professor Wan that I should work on the index of the book, reading it again and again in a very quick manner, because Professor Lantas wanted the index to be done in like 2 weeks, can you imagine? The whole thing just opened up in a different dimension altogether, because the meanings are suspended by them. So I think this is why the book is meant for youth, because at that time, the youth, you have vigor, and you are able to stand rigor. But unfortunately, your mind has been blunt by social media today. This is really unfortunate. That was my side comment. Thank you. You're the first, or? Yeah. Is it? And the next one is? Zubair, yeah, sorry. And the side after that. Okay, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi. My name is Saiful Alfan. I'm from Kuala Kangsar.
But he's from Sarawak now. Is it?
Transferred from Sarawak and Kuala Kangsar.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Zahid. So I've been reading history and biographies since my childhood, and it resonates with what Prof. Wan told us tonight about the wisdom of the youth. Many great thinkers and scholars and reformers of the past and present were educated early. They started early, and moreover, I found that they have things in common, in which their lineage, their families come from well-established, respected families that give them the stepping stones for them to become the great thinker, scholars, or reformers that they know of. Our Prophet Muhammad may live in poverty, but his lineage came from the Prophet Ibrahim, and his ancestors, his leaders of Makkah. Imam Shafi'i was started early in poverty, but the mother is a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad. Even our royalties in Malaysia claims a descendant of Sang Sapurba and Sang Sapurdo when descends to Bukit Seguntang claims lineage from the Iskandar Zulkarnain. So all these great scholars, thinkers and reformers of our past and present have this backup of their family, of their lineage that conforms to their contribution later on. People respected them because of them. And we have so many youngsters, I may say, here, over here, in this hall, but I don't think we are all come from a renowned family. We might start earlier. So my question is, how do I ensure that my works and my works basically is something that can change the world later on without being without my lineage being questions. It resonates with the Arabic proverbs. ليس الفتى من قال أبي كذا وكذا إن الفتى من قال أنا.
Okay. Zubair, please.
I'm going to go in. I just came to know that Prof. Al-Attas played a very important role to unite the nation in 1950, where he proposed the use of Bahasa Malaysia as a national language. I don't know about this, that he's the one that proposed, and he's the one that confronted Lee Siang and the late Lee Kuan Yew at the time. So I believe Prof. Atas did share with you personally on the details, why he chose the language, why not religion's force on the identity, and also what is the special of Malaysia compared to Europe, because Lim Kit Siang and the late Lee Kuan Yew really don't like this idea. So if you don't mind to share about this, because I think it's very important to mention these days, especially to my son.
You reminded. Thank you, Zubair. Would you like to take the question aside?
Yeah.
Okay, side please.
Thank you, Prof. I think I would like to expand on some of the questions of Dr. Yaqub and what Prof. Zaini mentioned about the influence of osmosis and social media. I believe somewhere in 1984, Neil Postman, commenting on George Orwell's 1984, was saying that during his time, it wasn't the fear of totalitarian government so much that's destroying us, but rather it is amusing ourselves to death. And that time he was basically criticizing television as a media, and where he was saying that it is the form that excludes the content. I suppose lamenting at that time, and in the 80s was your period, I suppose, in which the challenges coming from television would exclude the reading public. Now, I think it's evident by a lot of the alarming questions, we are concerned about the social media, wherein there's several problems. Not only are any potentially charlatans just posing themselves as intellectuals and so on. There's the problem of authority. There's the problem of lack of, shall we say, control of what can be spread. And this, I suppose, returns to the initial premise of what Prof. Wan was saying, the extension of adolescence. If now we fear the problem of the extension of adolescence into adulthood, I'm thinking that with social media they can prolong it until death, in that sense. Is disconnect the best way possible, and assuming we are able to do so, what should we do with the freedom? Thank you.
Thank you. Of course, Dr. Saiful Akmal, he is a medical doctor. That's why his question is more on the biological part of the lineage. And thank you for your question, very important question. I think don't worry about our lineage, because all of us came from somebody very noble, somebody to whom angels bowed down. My father may not be a noble person, but Nabi Adam was noble. So even if we, at least in this immediate past, we may not have known noble lineage, but we should be certain that the beginning of our lineage is more noble. Therefore, we have got the potential to create and to do many good things. Even though, biologically speaking, our mother is a simple kampung folk from Tanah Merah, Kelantan, or from Ulu, Kuala Kangsar, or from Ulu, Kamboja, it doesn't matter. But the nobility of man is not just what is immediately prior to our existence, but the beginning while we existed. When Allah say that Karamna Bani Adam, is talking about the whole of humanity, not just the Sayyid, not just the Salati, not just the Datuk or Datuk Sri. But on the contrary, sometimes we see that even those who came from great lineage may not fulfill the potential that they are supposed to fulfill. That's why Prof. Nakib reminds some of them, and many of our habaib also remind their fellow habaib that they must be true to their lineage, to their tradition, because of their tradition, therefore they are expected to be leaders, to be exemplars of what is good in their tradition. But not everybody has been able to do that to the most valuable extent. So don't worry about whether or not our parents, our grandparents were noble people from that lineage sense, because we all are noble in that sense from Adam onward. Okay? So if you say how can we must remember that and pray all the time that Allah unite us with the prophets and all the awliya in our tradition. That is our possibility. That's why we are not inferiority complex in that sense. Because wherever we come from, Bilal bin Rabah was not known to be coming from immediately noble family, or they say that his father was a former prince from somewhere. Yeah? But his contribution was not because of his parents, as we know. because of his spiritual maturity, to know the hadiah level of God, not just wahidiyah aspect of it. And because of that, perhaps, Allah inspired in him to be able to recite the Adhan, because of which his name became immortalized in the history of Islam from then until the end of time. So it's not where you come from, biblically speaking, but where you are going to contribute philosophically and ethically speaking. And that you can see from our history already. So be optimistic, my young man. We all have got a place to do, a place to play in, regardless of where we come from. Because we do come from somewhere very noble. But of course, on the other hand, in the strictly righteous end, our sperm is something very ignoble. So that's why Allah reminds us that even though you may be socially very noble, but remember that biologically you come from very ignoble beginning, sperm and egg, so on and so forth. But it is our moral, intellectual, and spiritual contribution, maturity will be the one that decides. That's why they recite that poem that you recited just now. Brother Zubir, I'm sure your young son is proud of you for asking that very important question. Because I remember being proud of my father when I was that age also. I was 12 years old, or 11 years old, traveling from Tanah to Palangrai on a crowded train. In those days, very slow train. But during the whole time, my father opened the safra and prayed while the train was traveling. I have never seen that thing before. And he was not an alim, he was not a ustad, was a normal man, a driver of a JKR. But his spirit is not of the JKR driver. Because I don't know of other driver who stood up and prayed like that without fear of anybody, without shame also, because they were 1960s. Now maybe very common. So sometimes things that we do also by our children can inspire them to do something that is something very praiseworthy. With regard to your question, in 1959, because when he was debating with Lee Kip-Chiang, he was already a professor, a dean of IT faculty of arts at UM. But in 1959, he gave a 3-episode talk on Radio Malaya in Malay regarding asas-asas persatuan bangsa Malaysia, Malaysia, Malaya waktu itu. He was saying that, and I got the handwritten photocopy of that speech. 1959, he was barely 20 years old, yet already he was proposing on national radio at that time on what can unite Malaysia, Malaya. He was saying all this, that we are diverse. We cannot use religion to unite these people because they are Chinese, they are Christian, they are Hindus. We can use law either. We can use politics, but we can use the language. Through one common language, we can unite all the various races and religions. That is bahasa Melayu. At the time there was no bahasa Malaysia yet. So that already, and he was 28 years old, speaking on national radio at that time. Luckily he kept the paper, and I still have it in my collection. But what made him understand all these things? Because of that debate, he was osmotic. He was listening in that one video about how he was only observing, because he was growing in that milieu of serious matters being discussed. I don't think they were discussing Arsenal or Chelsea or Michael Jordan. They were talking about the future of our country. They were talking about how to make the Malay, the Indian, talk together about something very profound. So that. And of course, later on he tried to revive Jawi also. Jawi not as the modern Jawi, because the modern Jawi is what I call dead and Jawi. Because the modern Jawi now is written and spelled in Romanized, from Romanized Malay. Like bola, waw, lam alif, bola. Buku, bahwaw, kahwaw. So whoever knows the Jawi can read the earlier Jawi. Because they will, bahwaw kaf, for example. Bahwaw kaf is book, English, not book. So when he was proposing for Jawi to be revived, he was asking them so that the knowers of modern Jawi will be opening the door to the profound writing in the early Malay literature. What was written in Aceh, in Pasai, in Minangkabau, everywhere. But those who know modern Jawi cannot read anything except Tulisan Melayu. which is very poor in terms of content. So he was proposing that. Jawi. But more importantly, after 1969 racial riot, he wrote a letter to Tan Sri Latali Shafi'i, who was Minister of Internal Affairs at that time, Kementerian Dalam Negeri. I have a copy of that letter. He was saying that we are people of different religion in this country. So we must try to unify people not just on language, because we have tried on language already, but on ethical similarities of various religion. We cannot talk about similarity of religion because the metaphysics, the theology of Hinduism, of Christianity, of Buddhism are different from that of Islam. But we can find similarities in all these major religions, and it's that as the basis of our nationalism. That's very profound. That has not been considered yet. Of course, they develop rukun negara, but rukun negara itu general. Kepercayaan pada Tuhan, kesiap pada raja dan negara, keluarga kelembagaan, dan kerajaan saudara. About 5 something like that. But it's still very vague. But he said that's fine. Commonalities, not on metaphysics, on theology, because that's very tricky and that kind of conflict, but on the ethical similarity in various religions. So even though Buddhism and Confucianism may not have conception of God, but they have got a rather clear conception of ethics, love for the scholars, respect for parents, respect for authorities, and many other things, hard work, honesty, integrity. Hinduism may have many gods. Christianity may have one in three, for example. But on ethics, we can find some similarity. That can be a basis of new unity. With regard to Dr. Inshallah soon, Syed Mohd, what should we do with our freedom is to improve our knowledge and improve ourselves. Because he told many people that there is no freedom for those who are ignorant, except to seek more knowledge. And since we all are ignorant in many things, we may be scholarly or expert in one thing. Therefore, we must be using our freedom to improve our lack of knowledge in other things, to improve our ibadat in many things, to improve our ethical weaknesses in other things, for example. So freedom can only or should only be used to improve ourselves, personally and collectively. Other than that, it's no freedom. It just seeks to ourselves, into our community. If we were to use our freedom to spread lies, to spread falsehood, to spread our desire to be richer beyond our means, beyond our right, then we are using that freedom for injustice to ourselves and our community. So if you ask me, what should we use our freedom for? It's to improve ourselves, knowledge-wise, ethical-wise, and many other things that we do better as an individual and as a community. Wallahu a'lam.
Okay, we have 10 more
minutes. Few more questions maybe. I'd just like to interject with another information to the question of this way. CASIS was fortunate to be given the trust by Dr. Raja some time ago, who was then the Ketua Pengarah of Bila Tata Negara, to write a book on that particular thing. So we published a book called Bunga Rampai, Bangsa Kebangsaan and Patriotism, on which the issue that you raised was commented. I think Sudara Hilmi wrote something like that. And a little more elaboration on what Professor Wan mentioned about the argument of Professor Latas that language would be the binding factor for unity of Malaysia was also commented in that book in a small article that I wrote. I don't know whether the book is still available, but you can find it somewhere maybe. All right? Can we have another show of hands, please? Yes. 1, 2. I think we'll take. Oh, there's a lady. So we'll not miss the lady. Yeah. Okay. Dominic, please. We'll go with you first. Sorry. Is there another one? Okay, then all right. Yeah, we'll indulge. No problem. Tomorrow Sunday. Yes, please. You are the boss.
Assalamualaikum. My
to this concept of looking at how so many early scholars, they were, young people, that they were youthful and they were able to contribute at this young age, and how come we're not able to do that now as effectively? My question is whether or not institutions are getting in the way. So, then, in the classical period, there was a focus more on tutors, right? And now there's a focus more on institutions. And so just maybe if you can, of course at the same time we did have awqaf and things like that. And now of course there's also a movement, towards homeschooling. People, moving away from the institutions and saying that the institutions bring with them a lot of inefficiency. And maybe there's also the aspect of the sincerity and all of that, the heart-to-heart connection that sometimes, is diluted in an institution as opposed to the personal relationship. So could it be that, or should we consider moving more towards the classical tutor method if we want our young people to be able to produce things like we saw in the past, or can we, fix institutions to make them capable of producing people like those great people in the past?
Thank you. We have the lady at the back. We can?
Yeah, I can.
Good. Thank you. Next one.
Assalamualaikum. I'm Darwina. Since we're all, I was very fascinated when Prof brought up these interesting names like Umar Aziz, Salim Ayubi, Umar Khattab, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. I know you were going around how old they were, but these are very, very strong personalities. They didn't do anything usual. What they did was very unusual. So I just wanted to sort of extract some insights into words about the roles of the scholars and the leaders. Because you said there was one example where Salahuddin Ayyubi went to war and Ibn Jubayr was writing his Rihla series. So I don't know which one is more important, basically, or they need each other, or how these amazing personalities came up with. I mean, to actually conquer a country, you actually need very, very strong warrior-like people. I think they did go through a lot of struggles as well. So I know they're young, but I'm sure in their upbringing there were a lot of hardship and struggles as well. I just wanted a bit of insight in terms of history. Thank you.
That's it.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty early. Well, did I miss anyone?
I think it's enough. Yeah, Brother Sulaiman Jamaluddin, a long time we have not met. I'm happy to see you. Alhamdulillah, you look old, I'm old too. We have reached the area of decrepitness. I don't know exactly what was the role of Da'bah with regard to the Latinization or Romanization of our Malay language from Jawi to current Latinized Malay. But I do know a little bit about Asas 50. which is a group of at that time young left-wing writers who must have been influenced by Turkey, because Turkey was the first one to Romanize. No other countries did that, neither Iran. So Turkey and then Malaysia, Indonesia. No other, even now. Persia, Iran didn't Romanize, Pakistan didn't Romanize, and none of the Arab world Romanized, except Malaysia and Indonesia. What were their reasons? I read some of the writing of Asal 50. Their reason boiled down to the fact that there is no consistency in the way we, because they were influenced by English grammar, English phonetics. For example, bahwa ka, it should be buku, but it's bahwa ka book. Bola, bahwa lam, it should be bahwa lam alif, bola. So later on, when Jawi was introduced, again, they make Jawi follow the Romanized way of Malay, which is dead end. Because this way of writing Jawi has got no literature of great standing except Usam Melayu at that time. So that was the problem. But pragmatic argument, no. Look at, say, Muhammad alone, Muhammad. In Romanized Malay, Muhammad like my name, in my IC, M-O-H-D. And then some M-O-H-A-M-A-D. And some M-U-H-A-M-M-A-D. There are so many ways of spelling one name. But in Jawi, Mim Har Mim Dal. Jawi. So he was saying that because Jawi has been practiced already for 900 years or so in our listening. Therefore, the argument saying that Jawi is confusing is because you don't know Jawi. Because in every language, if you know it enough, you can overcome some of its ambiguity. Even in English, for example. English is not a logical language also because there are some things that are illogical. Yeah? For example, the plural, the singular of verbs, and so on and so forth. Yeah? Arabic is more scientific in that sense, more structured. But English, sometimes you wonder why things are supposed to be said or written like that. Yeah? Of the car, I forgot the example, but he was giving so many examples. So that was the main argument. But mostly it was an attempt was made in order to break away from the classical tradition of the Islamic past. That was the main reason. It was influenced by the wrong aspect of Westernization. Whereas the argument is that no, the West has got many things we can learn from, but fundamentally they are quite dangerous to us in terms of their worldview. But when it comes to science, technology, the scientific spirit, we can learn from it. So it's more critical appreciation of the West. But of course, changing the script itself doesn't make you modern. Look at the Arab world, doesn't become modern. Persia doesn't become modern also. But in the past, there was more of hatred and more of shamefulness with regard to their tradition of the past. But by changing the script like that, you automatically make one generation illiterate already. So what happened in Turkey and what happened in the Malay world also. And that was very disadvantageous for us. With one statement, we make one generation illiterate, unable anymore to study the best writing of the past. Wallahu alam. With regard to the question from Sister Aisha, of course, in the past, there were not many women scholars. There were not many women generals because the society was like that. But even in the past, the respect for women was tremendous because Ibn Hazm, in many of the writings, he indicated many of his teachers who were women, and Professor Akram Khan,
Another way.
who wrote a wonderful book about the woman narrator of hadith. One whole volume like that. So there are many scholars in the past who were women also. The best one, of course, is Aisha already. So just because not enough works are done on them, it does not mean they don't exist. Except that they do not exist in the same number as were the men, and that's natural. It was not because we think women as less, no, because the respect for women was tremendous already. Look at the hadith that heaven is understood of mothers, for example, and many other things. For the present and future, there's no blocking you. Because now the education is open to all, the facilities are open to all, and in fact it's already happening. You go to the universities now, most of the participants, most of the students of the universities are women. many lecturers are women. In my own home, all are women basically. Luckily, all are married to men. Alhamdulillah. Those who are listening, it's a joke. Okay? I don't intend them to marry other than men and good men. But more fundamentally, our role model is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And because of him being our role model, therefore it solved our problem of identity crisis. In the Muslim world, there was no problem of identity crisis. Because everybody, they don't follow Aisha, they don't follow Ali or Omar, they don't follow Khadijah, they follow the Prophet. And they follow all the others because they follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It doesn't mean that we cannot follow the ladies in our tradition. We can, but we follow them only because they reflect aspect of prophetic teaching. So he is the one who should remain our unifying model, without neglecting the relevant roles of women, youth, teenagers, and people of other groups. But for the future, I think the door is open, and we do want to see more and more Muslims play more and more important role in the debate in the coming world. Because in Europe, the dominant group is women. And so will be in the Muslim world as well. And the more educated the Muslim women are, the more strong will be our community in the future. Dr. Darwin, alhamdulillah, we tonight we have 2 medical doctors who are participating. Of course, when you see that these individuals are great, they were not great before they did all these things. They were just like us. But we don't do all these things. Therefore, their greatness was not from the beginning. They were not born great. Some may come from great family, but not everyone who came from great family do great things. Therefore, greatness is partly biological, partly linear, partly environmental, but it is largely personal. But greatness, from science perspective, is not the sole purpose of our life. Because when we do something not to be great. We do something to the best of our ability. To compile, when Bukhari was doing what he was doing, he was not trying to become great. When Shafi'i was doing what he was doing, he was not trying to become great. He was trying to solve a problem. And all of us can solve a problem. All of us can solve problem. Technically, financially, philosophically, historically. And when we solve the problem properly, that solution will become great, depending on the context at that time. If we, for example, can invent something that can reduce waste of wudu water, I was wondering, we take wudu 5 times a day, and there are millions of us praying 5 times a day. How much water has been wasted? If we can invent something that can collect this water, that can be used for watering, for washing, not for drinking, of course, but even for drinking. How much we can help? Because now water is a big crisis, not only in Middle Eastern countries, but even in our country. If we can waste food, for example, billions of dollars are wasted because waste of food. If we can find solution to this. Of course, one is psychological, but the other one is mechanical also. Many other things. So Dr. Darwin's question is very important. Of course, these people are great, but not before they did all those things. So we also have the potential and the possibility of doing something great. Prof. Nakib was not great when he was going to high school. He told me that his teacher told him that, British teacher told him that, Nakib, you outside, one day you are going to be a gardener, because he was not good in mathematics. He liked to read manuscript, doing hard, mathematics was not his forte. He said, well, even as a gardener, I'll be a good gardener, something like that. So you can be good in anything, but make sure whatever you do is the best that you can do. The carpet makers in Turkey, every carpet is a unique carpet. They take sometimes months and years to do a single carpet, because it is an indication of their village, indication of their region. This cut from Konya, from this particular town, because the design is so unique like that. So greatness is not presupposed, but it's post facto. After we do it, then we become great. So let's try to do not great things, but let's try to do something to the best of our ability. When Prof. Nakib taught us how to publish our book, as we said before, he told us that when they got something good to offer to mankind, make sure it's done very well. Choose the paper properly. Check the spelling properly. Make sure the design is right. He doesn't think of world class, but he said do the thing properly, because what we are offering is something very good for our community. And that's why we learn how we learn from that. We choose the paper properly, the spelling, the design, because we want to share what we are going to offer with our community. And so it goes with the building. When he was constructing the effect building, he was saying that most people will not be able to decipher what we have in our minds or what we have in our books, because this requires intellectual preparedness. But when they see the way we design our building, the respect for nature, the use of water, the use of symbolism, they will know that it's a very serious place. Then we are trying to do something of importance. And that's what was uttered to me, at least by one person. When I brought into CASIS, he went to the old estate, I picked him up from the back of the gate, where the guard was. So as I brought him from the back gate all the way to Prof. office on the second floor, he was saying this is a very serious place. All the time, this is a very serious place. Because the way it's being architected, the way the trees were being planted, reflect the seriousness of the philosophy that he was trying to communicate to the villagers. Even in the physical representation of his building. So Dr. Darwina, yes, they were great people, but not before they did all those things. And we have the potential to do something good. Even CASIS is something, I think, great later on. Even the seminar is something great. We receive response from people from here and there. They said, we have not seen anything like it. That's already something great, relative to where we are right now. Isn't it? So do not feel too bad about ourselves. And that's what one thing which Prof. Nakib has imparted into us. That do not think too low of yourself. Because you are a Muslim. You are the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You are somebody. You can contribute something. Even though, when we were starting Skype before, he was saying that maybe in the future when people study about this part of the world during this time, they will know that there are people who are trying to do something very important. He was talking about that in the beginning when there was no building yet. When we were designing curriculum for ISTEC, a master's program, 24 courses, not counting Arabic, which is 3 years, not counting thesis that must be done thoroughly and thoroughly. I asked him, Prof, who are going to be studying in our place? Because it's so long to finish a master's degree. Whereas you go to other universities, 1 year you can get a master's degree, and the salary is the same. It doesn't matter how long the master's is, but salary is the same. He said, Dr. Wan, we are trying to produce lions, not pigs. He told me this, and I'm making this also. He said one day a mother pig brought a litter of her piglet, 20 of them, parading in front of a mother lion, a lion with 2 cubs. He said, well, look, I got 20, you have got 2 only. So the mother lion said, well, true, those are pigs, but these are lions. One side Muhyiddin is enough to fight the whole jungle. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
One more question.
I forgot to comment, and I was going to say that.
He was asking, should we move into more tutor-like kind of thing?
Oh, yeah.
Institutions are coming in the way of a proper education like it was in the past. Yeah?
Yeah, to some extent, formal institutions are hindrances for the time being, because they are reflecting more of the negative aspect of westernized and secularized worldview. Therefore, they want quantity, they want speed. Therefore, the respect for tradition in the positive sense has been overlooked. We do not oppose speed. We don't oppose quantity, but we don't want to compromise speed and quantity overriding proper quality. Because one good qualitative person can overcome hundreds and thousands of people. One Iqbal one Maulana Rumi, one Al-Ghazali, one Al-Shafi'i can transform communities, isn't it? Until now, the effect of Maulana Rumi's work in Konya, not just influencing people spiritually, but even economically and culturally also. One dead proper Sufi, but one dead secular leader, nobody goes there. Because people have found no more benefit and use of him. But one dead profound scholar, people still refer to him years and years after his death. Therefore, and that's why we are talking about worldview, we are talking about adab, how to put things in the right and proper places. We do not deny the good things that modern civilized and secularized worldview is offering, but there are fundamental errors as well. So institutions now formally do inhibit. That's why Dr. Adian is setting up a different kind of madrasah, trying to bypass all these formal requirements. And I think his experiment will give some result, inshallah. If that was an experiment, but it was unfortunately not allowed to continue. But inshallah, who knows? Maybe Allah will open the heart of some of our leaders to revive it again, inshallah.
Thank you, Professor Wan, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I would just like to say a little bit, although the topic has been heavy-handed and more on the youth today, but as Professor Wan was acknowledging his long friend, he was saying we have reached the age of decrepit. Remember, Aristotle, Ibn Sina, Al-Ghazali, they all talk about the soul as the antilechi of human nature, and that is the perfection of human nature. I would like to remind all of us that the soul doesn't suffer time or space. It doesn't know age. The only thing that suffers age is that part of us, the physical, that goes through corruption and generation. So with that, I would like to end tonight with the hope that irrespective of our age, we can still achieve our perfection. And the quest for learning, the quest for perfection of our human soul is something that is min al-mahdi ila al-lahdi. Thank you very much for your patience. Inshallah, we'll see you again on the 28th of September. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Muhammad.